Awesome. Okay, let's just jump in. First off, hi everyone. It is such an honor to be here. You can see me on the screen. I stopped sharing so that you can see me for a little bit. First, I want to say it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Tara, for having me here. We're a women-owned business, of course, so we're excited to be here. Second thing I want to say is turn on your cameras because the next 35 to 40 minutes is going to be interactive. I am not just going to talk at you. We're going to have an experience. We're going to have an exchange, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Next, I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for showing up because I always say that showing up is one of the hardest things to do. Starting is easy. Anyone can start, but showing up and staying, that's where the change happens. That's where the impact happens. And that's where the shift happens. So I'm super excited to talk with you today. Today, I am going to share with you a 4-step blueprint that is going to change your business and your life forever. It's a blueprint that my company Rise Up For You has used all over the world with clients, everything from big tech down to local entrepreneurs. We've worked with hundreds of thousands of people with this 4-step blueprint, and it's going to help you build a business and a life, because they're both important, that is unstoppable. A business and a life where you can have it all, where you can be happy, healthy, wealthy, sexy, wiser. How many of you want that? All of the above, right? Yes. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Teresa. I see you. So I'm going to share with you that 4-step blueprint. But just as a reminder, as Tara said, I am Netta Nasruddin. I'm the CEO and the founder of Rise Up For You. And my team and I, we work with organizations and entrepreneurs all over the world. We're in over 50 countries, and we help them elevate their performance, their leadership, and their communication through teaching and training the skills that we often don't get taught, all of the human skills, the soft skills. I have a team of about 20 people, and we get to do this work every single day, day in and day out. So the 4-step blueprint that I'm going to teach you today, it is a trademark blueprint that has been tried and proven day in and day out, over and over and over again with thousands of leaders, a framework that actually works. And today I'm super excited to share it with you today. I will tell you now that if you pay attention, if you take notes, if you interact in this session, you will see results by the time you walk out of here, and you will have action steps that you can implement. That's how confident we are about the work that we are doing. But before I jump in and share with you, can I share a little bit about who I am, where I come from, what I do? Yeah? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your permission. So as you heard, my name is Netta Nasruddin. And, back in the day, before I even built Rise Up For You, I was actually a performer. So I used to tour the world internationally as a singer and a dancer. And I remember the first time that I got into the performance room, I noticed that there were hundreds of performers, hundreds. And all of them were really, really great singers and really great dancers, but they were only going to cast 36 people. So automatically I'm thinking, okay, there's hundreds of people in here that are all really good and only 36 are going to be casted. How am I going to get chosen? Now, I want you to think about that from an entrepreneurial standpoint or a business standpoint. Every day, there's hundreds, there's thousands of people that do what you do, that do what I do, right? And at the end of the day, the clients or the stakeholders or the RFPs or whoever is looking to hire you, they have to choose between you and probably another 100 or thousands of people that do the exact same thing. And how are you going to get chosen? So when I was a performer, I recognized really quickly that it was more than just my technical skill. It was more than just my ability to step on stage and belt out a musical theater song or put my tap shoes on, that I needed to do something and be different so that I can be one of those 36 people that was casted. Now, fast forward, after I got done performing, I became an executive of an education corporation. I was 27 years old and I had about 200 team members under my leadership. And I saw the exact same thing happening. So amazing, highly technical people that were super smart. They had PhDs, master's degrees, bachelors, you named it. They were getting in the way of their own success. How many of you know somebody that is super smart, but they really struggle with building relationships or communicating effectively or just having confidence? How many of us know somebody like that, right? They have all the degrees and skills that they need, but there's something missing when it comes to interacting and connecting with other people and building relationships, okay? So this is quite common. Now, I started to recognize that, okay, there's a gap here. I saw it as a performer, I'm seeing it as an executive. And even though, as an executive, all I wanted to do was coach and mentor and support my team, I spent the majority of my time, money, and energy solving people problems. How many of us have ever been in that situation where you're just trying to put out fires because people can't get along, they can't resolve their own conflict, they struggle with leading their team and communicating, right? So this was a big challenge for me. Other than that, besides trying to make an impact in my own way, I didn't really do much with this other than recognizing that there was a gap. And so I started to add value in my own way. As an executive, I started to, try to teach these skills. I worked at a local college in the evening, trying to teach these skills to the freshmen that were coming in. That was my way of making an impact. And then after about 5 years of being an executive, I decided that I was going to resign from the company. I was going to sell my house on the lake, brand new luxury car, all my toys, everything that I had. And I moved out of the country for an opportunity called marriage. And I will tell you that on the first day of my honeymoon, my husband looked at me and he said he wanted a divorce. I lost everything in the matter of like a week. I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought that I was on the prank show. I went from being a successful six-figure executive, house on the lake, brand new luxury car, all these things, to $100 and 2 luggage. So I got back on a plane and I'm crying and I'm bawling and I'm confused and I'm shocked and I'm embarrassed that how does a successful woman end up in a situation like this? Has anyone ever had that thought before? Like, how did I make a decision where I got to this place? So I'm sitting on the plane and I'm crying so much that I actually cry myself to sleep. And my father came to me in my dream. My father passed away when I was 27 before I became an executive. And he said, Netta, everything you need is already inside of you. You just have to rise up for you. Now, if you look at the book behind me, if you look at the signature on the screen, you'll see Rise Up For You. So I got back to California with absolutely nothing except my mind, my mother, and my 2 brothers. And I just started building Rise Up For You. Didn't know what it was, had no concept of building a business, didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, but I just started building this name, Rise Up For You. Now, the reason why I share this story with you is because I'm about to teach you this 4-step blueprint that not only we teach around the world, but that I also used within myself to help get back to where I needed to be. So after I came back to California and I started Rise Up For You, there was no business behind it. It was just a name. 3 months later, my second parent, my mother, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I started building Rise Up For You out of a hospital. I took showers at the 24-hour fitness. I went back across the street. I would open up a laptop, sit next to my mother. How do you build a business? What do people need in the world? Who's Tony Robbins? I had no concept and no idea. 9 months later, my mother passed away. I was 31 years old. I was going through a divorce, no money, no nothing, and I just buried my second parent. That comes to the 4-step blueprint that I'm going to share with you today. I share that with you because the first step of the blueprint is self-confidence. Today, my company is in over 50 countries. We're a 7-figure business. I built it from the ground up with $0 investment from anybody, and it all started with self-confidence. 83% of professionals say their number one challenge is self-confidence. I work with amazing entrepreneurs and women like you every day, and the biggest thing that gets in their way is self-confidence. I know that many of you that are on here right now, you probably have an amazing concept, an amazing business, you're an expert at what you do, but there's certain aspects that are hindering your ability to move forward and take action. The perfectionist mindset, healthy boundaries, getting out there and doing video. How many of you run your own business? How many of you are out there online doing video? Anybody? You just give me a thumbs up. How many of you know that you need to do video, but you don't do it? Right? Yes. Okay. And that's okay. You're not alone. You are not alone. And that's why we're having these conversations. That's just one small step and one small thing that prevents us from moving forward. Now, I always say that it's not your fault, because we have been taught as a society to build what I call micro level confidence. And I talk about this in my book. Micro level confidence means that you build confidence in a competency, a certification, a skill, or a thing. Think about this. Your entire life, you're taught to build, good grades in science, in math, in art, whatever it is. But have you ever taken a class that teaches you how to build confidence in the self? No, we haven't. It's not a part of our curriculum. So we've been taught to build micro level confidence. I have micro confidence in speaking. I have micro confidence in singing. I'm really good at these skills. But the problem with those micro level confidence is that all those things exist outside of me. So anything that exists outside of you inevitably can and will change. And this is what we saw during COVID. So people from around the world that had titles, money, cars, you name it, they lost all those things. And in the same process, they said, who am I? What's my value? And what's my worth? Because they never actually built macro level confidence, which is an inner belief in yourself, a belief that you are enough simply because you exist, a belief that perfectionism prevents you from your potential because it creates procrastination. This is the number one skill that we teach first out of the 4 steps, because if you don't have the self-confidence, your capacity to take action will be hindered and your success will stop. I always say, I know how somebody thinks or believes in themselves based off of their behaviors. And that self-confidence is the very, very first step to making that happen. So I'm going to share my screen with you now because I'm going to walk through some of these things with you. So step number 1 is self-confidence. Okay. Now that you have the self-confidence, and I explained a little bit about how important self-confidence is, now I got my business. I have my business doing great. And all of a sudden, COVID hits in 2019. I just started my business in 2019, 2020, COVID hits. Okay, so now what? How do I pivot? What do I do to make money and to actually scale and grow the business? This is where step number 2, emotional and social intelligence, comes in. And I'm going to share my screen with you here so that you can see this. How many of you are familiar with emotional and social intelligence? Okay. So emotional and social intelligence, I want you to think of this as a tree. This is step number 2. Think of it as a tree. There's 4 big branches on this tree. Branch number 1 is self-awareness. Branch number 2 is self-management. Branch number 3 is social awareness. And branch number 4 is all things relationship, so leadership and whatnot. A big part of emotional and social intelligence is your ability to manage yourself and take action, especially in circumstances that are uncertain. So when COVID hit, and I had the confidence to build my business, but now COVID hit, I really had to tap into my emotional intelligence so that my business didn't fail. I had to adapt. I had to pivot. I had to learn how to build relationships. And because of the social and emotional intelligence that I've been able to build, I said to everybody, nobody talked to me for 3 days. I went online and I built something called the Success Club, which I've never built before. I went online and I reached out to everybody that I knew online and I said, I know COVID is uncertain. A lot of us are struggling. I'm running a free Success Club for 6 weeks where I'm going to teach you everything that I know. I ended up running that 4 times in that 1 year and made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that saved the business, because when people got in for free, when we got done doing the 6-week course, people wanted more and they wanted to pay us for coaching. Me being able to pivot and adapt and control my emotions around what was happening with COVID is the very thing that got us to get into 50 countries. Because before COVID, we existed in one local area in Southern California. It's the very thing that saved the business financially. The first year of the business before COVID hit, I made $40,000. The second year, I made $190 by myself with 0 paid marketing. Okay, so that was 4 times. Then after that, it was $500,000. Now today we're a 7-figure business and we started in 2019. Until this day, I have paid $0 in marketing. No Google ads, no Facebook ads, no Instagram, no LinkedIn, no nothing. And I tell you that because it was the emotional and social intelligence that got us to scale the business to the next level. So that is step number 2. So here's what I want to do. Before we go on, 95% of leaders think they're self-aware, but only 10% actually are. So we are going to take a moment to assess our emotional intelligence, because this is the #1 soft skill that you need. So you can see my phone number online. It's 909 because I'm from the Inland Empire in California. Now I'm in Vegas, but I was from the Inland Empire. You're going to text that phone number, and you're just going to text all one word, EI quiz. Okay, don't put any space between it. And this is going to allow you to assess your emotional intelligence right now in the moment, okay, on the first 2 pillars. So we're going to assess our self-awareness and our self-management, just the first 2. We're going to take about a minute or 2 to do that. It's going to ask you a series of questions 1 through 10. It's going to ask you 1 through 10, 10 being amazing, 1 being danger zone. Where are you in this competency? Okay. And it's going to show you a number of different competencies. So it's going to show you like stress management, emotional regulation, self-confidence. And I want you to take a moment. I'll give you about 90 seconds to go through and do the assessment. The reason why I want you to do it now is because it's going to give you a score, and then I'm going to teach you what to do with that score. Okay. So I'll give you a moment to go ahead and fill out the assessment. And what you're seeing on the assessment right now are just the first 2 pillars, the areas that fall under emotional intelligence that are just the first 2 pillars. So you can see that there's a lot to it, right? Emotional regulation, accurate self-assessment, self-confidence, resilience, growth mindset. All of these things are a part of, again, just the first half of emotional intelligence. Because remember, emotional intelligence, there's 2 aspects to it. Yourself, okay, how you influence and manage and work with yourself, and then how you influence, manage, and behave around others. So the first 2 pillars, self-awareness and self-management, that you're scoring yourself on right now, only has to do with you, yourself, and I. Like, how do you show up in your own skin? Do you get stressed often? Are you able to manage your emotions? Do you struggle with healthy boundaries? Do you struggle with self-confidence? It's all about you. And then the second 2 pillars, which we're not going to assess today, are now, how do you show up with other people? How do you engage? How do you build relationships? Do you coach? Do you mentor? Do you have active listening? Do you know how to speak and communicate with influence? That's the last 2 pillars. Okay. So now what I want you to do, hopefully you finished, the majority of it. How many of you are done with your EQ assessment that you just went through? You need another minute or 2? Okay, I'll give you another minute. It's okay. Okay, 2 more, no problem. So I'll wait for you. We'll give you a little bit of silence. I don't mind silence.
Please provide an honest rating for each of the following.
And then we'll jump in about another 60 seconds, and then we're going to go to the next step. And here's what I'll tell you while you're rating yourself. It's okay if you give yourself a 1. Okay, the reason why we have this assessment is because most individuals struggle with emotional and social intelligence, and that's why we teach it. So I want you to do this with self-compassion. I don't want you to worry if you have a 4 or a 5. Just score yourself honestly, because then from here we have somewhere to go. Lori, did you have a question? Oh, okay, you just got it. Pity. Is that your name?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. So when we're doing self-talk, is it how much we talk, or are we positive or negative? Like, what is it that you're looking for?
Yeah, so I believe there's a definition there that it should be there, but self-talk is positive self-talk. So what's the narrative that you have in your mind? Are you your #1 cheerleader, or are you constantly negating yourself, putting yourself down, critiquing yourself? So a 10 would be, no, my self-talk is amazing. Like, I love myself. I'm constantly cheering myself on. And a 1 would be danger zone, where you're constantly beating yourself up, talking bad to yourself, putting yourself down. So that's an example, Fiddy.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna move on, and that's okay. So if you finish your emotional intelligence assessment, which if you didn't, that's fine. I'm going to keep going. Okay. So go ahead and finish it. 75% of careers are derailed because of a lack of emotional and social intelligence. Okay. That's why so many businesses went away during COVID. Part of it was because things were shut down, but a big part of it is because unfortunately many entrepreneurs, they did not know how to pivot. They didn't know how to adapt. They didn't know how to like build those relationships in an online world, because essentially we went online for about 2 years. And so being able to tap into your emotional and social intelligence will serve you in a multitude of ways. Not only is it going to serve you when it comes to building relationships, but it's also going to save your business. And the reason why it's so important right now, again, 75% of your success is dependent on emotional and social intelligence. And we would be silly not to acknowledge that in 5 years from now, the business space is going to look very different because of artificial intelligence. Heck, in 1 year from now, it's going to look very different because of artificial intelligence and technology. If entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders don't have the emotional intelligence to pivot, they will put themselves out of business. Okay, the ones that will be competitive, the ones that will thrive are the ones that are able to adapt with their EQ in the face of AI. And that is going to be critical. So that is step number 2. So far we talked about self-confidence. Then we talked about emotional intelligence, which is step number 2. Step number 3. Okay, Netta. So now I am running this company. We're in over 50 countries, and I can't do this by myself. So now all of a sudden I have a team, right? I'm the owner of a company and I have 20 people on my team. So not only do I need to scale, grow the company, make payroll, and try to get revenue, but I also need to lead people. What? So now step number 3 is transformational leadership. And I always say that it's much more difficult, I believe, because again, we're working with leaders every day. It's much more difficult to lead when you're actually running a business as well, when you're doing both, right? You have to worry about the operations of the company. You've got to think about payroll. You got to think about sales and generating income and getting out there and fishing, right? Like you're the shark that has to go grow the business. But now you also get a team that you have to grow and empower and uplift simultaneously. So the difference here is transformational leadership is different than transactional leadership. Most leaders are transactional. So how many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy? How many have heard of that? Okay. So most leaders are at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, where they are basically just working with their team and saying, hey, are you good? Do you feel supportive? Do you have the resources? Do you have everything that you need? That's a transactional leader. A transformational leader is the one that takes the team member all the way up to the top of the pyramid to self-actualization. The transformational leader is the one that says, I'm going to help you push your potential. I'm going to help you reach your goals. Oh, you and your husband want to buy a house? Let's figure out how to help you get there by performing and being more productive in the company and me mentoring you so that you can actually get there. That's a transformational leader. Did you know that over 80% of team members, their happiness is based off of their leadership's ability to see them? That's pretty astonishing, right? Think about it. If you're a leader, your team's happiness is kind of dependent on how you show up in the world. And that's why 2/3 of employees leave a company, not because they don't like their job. It's because the leadership that's working with them is not elevating them. It's not supporting them. It's not evolving them. And so they decide to leave people, not companies, right? They're leaving people, not companies. So 78%, to be exact, of employees indicate that feeling seen and appreciated by their leader leads to their happiness. Okay, that again, that's a pretty big number. And I know that can feel a little bit overwhelming as a leader, but the proof is in the pudding. And that's what we see: employee turnover, high rates of that. So transformational leadership is step number 3. Now meet Lisa. Lisa was an executive for a massive fitness company in North America. She struggled with employee turnover and retention. HR stopped counting because turnover reached 7 figures. So they didn't even know how much money they were spending on turnover. And I said, well, why don't you go ask HR? And she said HR stopped counting because it was in the millions. Like they just stopped counting because it had reached millions of dollars in turnover. Through her doing emotional intelligence coaching and training and doing the transformational leadership, she had a 212% increase in sales. 212. She was the only executive in the company that had an increase in sales. And after COVID, she had an 87% employee retention rate. 87%. Now imagine after COVID, nobody wanted to go back into the office and work. And they have fitness centers throughout North America. 87% of the employees came back into the fitness center to work with her as an executive because she was a transformative leader versus a transactional leader. So that is step number 3. Now we move on to one of my favorite and the last pillar of the blueprint, influential communication. So I had the self-confidence to build the business. I built the emotional intelligence to scale and grow and continue to grow. Working through transformational leadership to now bring a team with you, because if you want to scale, you've got to learn how to lead and grow your team. But now, how do we communicate the business in a way that's influential where clients and stakeholders and procurement officers and CEOs and executives say, I want to work with you. I like what's coming out of your mouth. When you walk into a room, you have confidence and dynamic, and I trust that you're going to get the job done. Influential communication is the most difficult soft skill. That's why it's the last one. 69% of participants make a first impression of someone before they even open their mouth, before they even have a chance to speak. People are already making judgments about whether or not they want to work with you or whether or not they want to talk with you, right? And on top of that, 83% felt more positive about someone who seemed confident in themselves. Now, this is the biggest tragedy I see every day when I go to networking events, and specifically when I work with women that are entrepreneurs, because I speak on stages around the world, and I'm constantly around women in the room that run businesses. And the biggest tragedy I see is they don't know the power of their presence and the message that they are communicating non-verbally, and when they say what they do, displays low self-confidence versus power and presence, and that they have something to bring to the world. Most individuals that are struggling to build their business are struggling because they're not presenting themselves in a way where people can receive them and say, oh, I trust you and I know you're going to get the job done in whatever industry it is. It's the number one saboteur that I see with entrepreneurs. Influential communication is that one step that's going to take your business to the next level. So meet Parul. Parul actually worked for a massive Fortune 500 company. Okay, she worked for a global company that was in information technology. She was struggling to be seen. She was struggling to be heard. She was struggling to be relevant. We did influential communication and public speaking with her one-to-one. She was promoted 3 times within her company in 3 years. Every year she got a promotion, and now she's building her own business when it comes to coaching and mentorship because of the skills that she has been able to develop with our team. Okay, so I need a volunteer. Yes, even though we're virtual, I need a volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Yes, thank you, Lori. Okay, Lori, go ahead and take yourself off mute. Okay. Lori, we are going to do something called the Basic 5. Thank you so much for being a brave volunteer. Before you leave today, I'm going to ask you for your email because my team is going to send you a gift. Lori, I just want you to tell us your name, what you do, okay, and one golden nugget that you've learned so far today.
My name is Lori Muley-Wiseman. I am the president and CEO of the Muley Sausage Corporation. We make better for you sausage and meatballs. And I have learned the emotional and social intelligence is a complete package that you should always be aware of. You can take your confidence, but really understand how you present yourself to others, and that's very important.
Okay, fantastic, Lori. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Lori, everybody. You can give her an emoji too if you're driving or whatever it is. Okay, Lori, we're going to do a little bit of influential communication coaching. Is that okay? And I'm going to share the 5 quick steps to this. So
Yes, ma'am.
step number one is posture. So even when you're on Zoom, we want to have a strong posture. So Lori, do me a favor. Can you back up your chair just a little bit so that we can see below, like where your diaphragm area is, okay? And we want to bring your camera down. Yeah, there we go. Bring the camera down. Okay, perfect. Okay, so right there, can we see how that already made an impact? Because now we can see more of you, Lori, and so we trust you more, especially when it comes to hands. When you're virtual, when we have our hands hidden and we're talking, it's uncertain. We don't know where your hands are. And so naturally, we don't elicit trust to somebody. But if we have our hands in a place where we can see them exactly, right? Even if you bring them up every now and then we feel more comfortable with you. So the way that you're sitting right now on Zoom is perfect. That's just one minor adjustment that we made in 30 seconds. Step number two is voice dynamics, okay? So when we are speaking and when we're communicating, we want to have what we call highs and lows. So basically, we want our voice to go like this, okay, versus it going like this. So Lori, I just want you to say your name and what you do again. And this time, I want you to think about going up and down. So for example, hi everyone, my name is Netta Nasruddin. I'm the CEO and I'm the founder. So you see how I had a little bit of up and down in my vocal dynamic? Lori, try that for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Muley-Wiseman. I am the president and CEO of Muley Sausage Corporation.
Okay, did we already hear a difference or what, right? And that was, again, 20 seconds of basic influential communication. Now, the third thing is energy, okay? Oftentimes when we speak, we do something called the fall off, which, Lori, you actually didn't do, which is great. Oftentimes we hear people say, hi, everyone, my name is Netta Nasruddin, and I'm the CEO and founder of Rise Up For You. And like the last part of the phrase kind of falls off the cliff and then people start to mumble. So we want to maintain a strong energy. You did that well, Lori, and so I'm not going to have you do it again. Step number 4 is confidence. And step number 5 is clarity. So I want you to do it again. And this time I want you to remove any subservient language. So how many of us have ever heard someone speak or talk and they say, like, sorry, How many of us have been there? Okay, that's what we call filler language and subservient language when we say, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, can I ask a question? That takes away from your credibility. So Lori, I want you to do the whole thing again, your name, what you do, one golden nugget that you learned from today, and everything that we talked about, your posture, your vocal dynamic, 0 filler words, I want you to implement in your speaking. Last quick thing is your eyes. Even though you're on Zoom, we're following your eyes. So I noticed, Lori, a couple times you looked up at the sky. So we want to try to look just straight at you. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, Lori.
Changing this.
Yeah, you got it. Let's go for it.
Okay. Hello, my name is Lori Muley-Wiseman. I am the CEO and president of the Muley Sausage Corporation. My company has Better For You sausage and meatballs, and we are sold nationwide. Now I'm running it.
Oh, you got it. You got it. So, Lori, and this is the call. That was fantastic. Don't be afraid of silence. So oftentimes we're afraid to let there be space. And so we keep trying to talk, or we put in a filler word like and because we don't want there to be silence. It's okay for you to have a little bit of space. And it's also okay for you to repeat the question because it gives you time to think. So for example, Lori, you could say something along the line of, Netta, you asked me what's one golden nugget that I learned here today. And you saying that one phrase will give you time to then respond. See what I mean? So go ahead and try that one more time, Lori.
Hello, my name is Lori Muley-Wiseman. I'm the president and CEO of Muley's Sausage Corporation. My company produces Better For You sausage and meatballs, and we're sold nationwide. Today, I learned the importance of speaking in different tones and speaking clearly, making eye contact.
Yes, fantastic. Bravo. Okay, and you noticed that that was what, 1 minute? You know what I mean? So these are just some small things. Thank you, Lori. Lori, do me a favor. If you can type your email in the chat for me privately, or anyone could see, my team will send you a gift because we appreciate you for being a trooper and allowing me to coach you. So influential communication, you can see even with Lori from the first time she did it until now, drastic change, right? Very clear, very confident. We know exactly what Lori does. So phenomenal job. Thank you, Lori. So going back to sharing my screen, these are the 4 steps that are going to truly make an impact. Self-confidence, emotional intelligence, transformational leadership, and influential communication. My team and I teach this all around the world to entrepreneurs, organizations, and leaders every single day. We have a book for each pillar. The emotional intelligence one just became a #1 bestseller 2 weeks ago. And these are the skills that are going to help you move the needle. So before I have my final thought with you, I would like to ask for impact. So I always say that in order for us to make any kind of change, we have to start with ourselves. Before I end my presentation and I open it up for some Q&A, my ask today, and by the way, everyone here that's an entrepreneur, I encourage you to study this, is make an ask for impact. Our goal is to impact over 1 million people around the world with these skills: self-confidence, EQ, leadership, and influential communication. So my ask is, if you know anybody, any executive, any company, any entrepreneur that needs support with these skills, we would love to connect with them. We would love to connect with you. If you know any conference that's looking for a female speaker, we would love to be considered. If you just scan the QR code, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, we would be so grateful if you can help us make an impact in the world. I want to end by saying to you this: your career, your relationships, success in life, and fulfillment, they're all dependent on your emotional and social intelligence. Soft skills, whether or not you truly believe it, they are the new success skills, and they are the skills that are going to help you move forward in your business and in your life. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I think we have about 2 minutes left, so I want to see if anybody has any questions for me. By the way, before we get to any questions, if somebody has one, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, if you do any kind of speaking, I highly encourage that you always do a Q&A, because that helps you establish your credibility in the industry that you are in. Does anybody have any questions for me before we wrap up? No? Easy peasy? All right.
I just want to say thank you. I know I work with WBEC-West, but this was beneficial for me, so thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please connect with me. Again, if there's any connection you can make, we are so honored and grateful. And I'm sure I'll see you hopefully at the next WBEC or WBEC conference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I can't type anything into the chat, so I'm not exactly sure why it's not letting me.
I think I could type my email. I'm just going to type my email. Did you see that? Did my email come through?
Yes, it did.
Lori, if you can grab that, shoot me an email. We'll make sure my team sends you a gift.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Nana. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.